Hello, welcome to my channel. I promise this whole video is not a voiceover. I just wanted to take a moment and explain some of the topics in the video. And I'm doing so with some scenic footage from the botanical gardens. I figured that would be nicer than just seeing a black screen and just me talking from the void. I also figured this would be a nice way to introduce you to the daughter who made me into a mother, who will allow me to celebrate Mother's Day and has allowed me to have such a unique perspective on the topics at hand. I'm going to be talking about my own experiences with pregnancy loss and how I cope, as well as how I am impacted by Mother's Day, both past and present. And I just wanted to give an insight into the mind of someone who has had a brief experience of being a newly pregnant mother and then experiencing loss and kind of being unsure how to label myself moving forward, how to approach the holiday, but also just people in general when the topic comes up. I also touch on how I wish someone would have handled the conversation, or how I wish people would approach the topic if they knew of my story. If any of this is something you're dealing with yourself, or you know of someone who's going through a similar situation, I encourage you to keep watching so that you can better understand what kind of mindset they may have. I know my family probably wishes they were able to have a better understanding when I was going through my journey, as we all just kind of muddled through it together. Before I go any farther, I do want to say a couple of trigger warnings. I am going to be talking about pregnancy loss, so if that's something that you're sensitive to and maybe aren't really in the mindset to watch a video surrounding that topic, I completely understand, and I hope the best for you in your healing. But with that said, before I dive into it, I want to take a moment and introduce you to my daughter, the one who made me into a mother, and someone I never actually got to meet, but she's changed my life and taught me so much in the short amount of time that she was here. Meet my daughter, Marceline. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today's gonna be a little bit of a different video, a little bit of a heavier topic, because Mother's Day is right around the corner and it's kind of a big deal for so many people out there, but there are so many levels and layers that most people don't tend to think about because they've never had to experience or know someone who has experienced the mindset that some women are in. And what I mean is being a mother who has experienced infant loss or pregnancy loss, because it's a difficult topic to kind of navigate how to explain to someone when they come up and ask you, oh, are you a mother, or are you celebrating Mother's Day? So in my case, I am currently pregnant. I am 23 weeks pregnant, but it also, there's that layer of difficulty because I'm already a mother, but in a way it also feels like this is my first time getting to celebrate being a mother. So I kind of want to give a little bit of my backstory surrounding Mother's Day, kind of give some thoughts and maybe some helpful tips for approaching others who may have experienced something similar, or if you yourself, maybe you'll find comfort in knowing that you're not alone. So I was pregnant back in 2019 with a little baby girl, and we named her Marceline. She was born on April 20th of 2019 at 18 weeks gestation. We found out at 16 weeks when we went in for our gender reveal that our baby had what's called anencephaly, which is a neural tube defect where essentially her spinal cord did not fully form and it left her brain exposed and her skull unformed. And unfortunately that is something that is fatal to almost every scenario that happens in. When we found out about this, we had never heard of it before, never known anyone who had gone through it, but as the weeks progressed and people were reaching out to offer condolences and support, I found out that a coworker of mine had actually experienced it. So it's crazy to experience something that you've never heard of before, but then come to find out that so many other people have gone through it themselves, or they also know someone who has. But that is my experience with pregnancy loss. I won't go further into detail on my experience with the actual loss of my pregnancy. She would be 4 right now as of recording this, which is crazy to think about, but it's still a fresh wound. I don't know that it will ever not be something that brings up emotion. I'm just now really getting to a stage of where I feel healed. I'm never gonna be healed, but to a point that I'm comfortable speaking of it. Obviously I'm now essentially introducing her to the world, being able to talk about it with strangers. But with that being said, that is a very difficult topic to approach with someone when they ask you, do you have kids? And then you're kind of having to figure out, do I tell this person the story of loss? And if it's someone you don't know very well, do you tell them, yes, I have a child, but then you tell them that they're no longer with us? Or do you say no, which feels wrong because yes, I do have a child, but she didn't get to experience life as the rest of us get to. And then you feel guilty because you want to honor their memory, but then it puts you in such a weird situation of approaching that. If it's someone that I know personally, they kind of know what I've been through, I don't mind sharing a bit more. But when it comes to a coworker or a new friend, it becomes really difficult to know where that line stands and how to approach the other person. You don't know what they've been through or what they're comfortable knowing. There's a lot of rocky ground that you kind of have to navigate, and it can be very difficult. That's why I wanted to make this video, is to share that if you are going through that, especially coming up on Mother's Day, that you're not alone, that it is not an easy journey to go through. And even after, if we end up with a healthy little baby at the end of this, how do you approach it then? When you are asked, oh, is this your first? Do you say yes? Or do you say, no, I experienced pregnancy loss? Or do you lie and say, yeah, I have a daughter, but she's at home? Which that also feels wrong because, well, yes, my daughter is here with me in an urn. It's just an odd thing to talk about with people who don't know your story or her story. One thing I did definitely want to say is that no matter how the conversation unfolds, anencephaly is not who my daughter is. It does not define her life. So when it comes to how do you celebrate Mother's Day, having experienced pregnancy loss, it is such a blessing to be able to have my rainbow baby, but especially that first Mother's Day, which was just a few weeks after we lost Marceline. I did not celebrate Mother's Day. I was so deeply into grieving that it was too hard. And the year after, I was not in a place where I felt like I had the right to celebrate Mother's Day, which is, it's difficult to think about, to think back on now, thinking that because I had experienced loss that I was no longer a mother, that I didn't get to celebrate Mother's Day. But it's a reality for a lot of women who experience loss. You really don't know, do I celebrate Mother's Day? I don't have a child, even though I have carried a child. Does that allow me to celebrate Mother's Day? And what I have to say to that now is, if you are 4 weeks pregnant, you just find out, or you didn't know and then you find out after the fact and you've had a miscarriage, you're a mother if you want to define yourself as a mother. If you don't, that's okay too. That is your choice, your journey, and no one can tell you that you are not a mother. If you have ever been pregnant, or if you have adopted a child, you're now a mother. Me and Jamie are not married, but he has a 10-year-old son and I consider myself his mother. Yes, he has a mother, but he is also a huge part of my life and has been for the past 6 years. And so I consider myself a second mother. So that's the biggest takeaway for sure of what I wanted to accomplish with this video is, no matter your scenario, if you have lost a baby or if you have had a miscarriage or any form of pregnancy loss or infant loss or child loss, it does not make you any less of a mother. And if you want to celebrate Mother's Day, go for it. You have that right to do so. And if anyone tries to tell you otherwise, get them out of here. They're not on your side. Which that brings me to my next point, is how to approach someone. If you have never experienced it, or you have, and you find out that someone else has, how to approach them on Mother's Day. So I don't know how other people would want to handle the scenarios that I've mentioned, but in my case, I would want someone to, if they find out that I have experienced pregnancy loss and the conversation has reached that point and they're curious about Mother's Day, I would be okay if someone asked, are you going to celebrate Mother's Day? Or do you want to celebrate Mother's Day? That way I have the ability to say yes or no, or explain why I will or why I won't, instead of having that assumption that yes, of course I'm going to, or no, of course I'm not going to because I'm no longer a mother. That leaves the door open for me to kind of set my boundaries and kind of give myself the freedom to explain if I deem necessary. So if you find yourself in a conversation with someone who has experienced pregnancy loss, unless they bring it up, I would just let it be, because you don't know how they feel or where they stand. I would just provide support if they ask for it. What I wish I could have told people was, unless I bring it up, it's probably not something that I'm comfortable talking about. If I do bring it up, let me lead that conversation, because that is a very personal, very probably emotional conversation to have. So if you find yourself in that situation where your friend or family member has experienced pregnancy loss and you are curious about Mother's Day, if they don't bring it up, I wouldn't push it. Not until they're ready, because if they want to talk about it, they'll probably bring it up and say, hey, I'm going to do this for Mother's Day, or I thought about celebrating in this way, whatever it may be. Let them lead that conversation. Unless you know them well enough, you know where they stand, you know the story, that's a different scenario. But if it's like a coworker or a new friend, let them be the one to kind of guide where that conversation goes. I'm going to leave it there, knowing that I have finally told the world about my daughter, and I hope that this video could help someone who may be struggling with the idea of how to navigate Mother's Day, or just conversations around pregnancy loss or child loss in any form. So if you're still here, thank you so much for watching and taking the time to listen. It really means a lot that you care enough about the topic to kind of hear someone else's perspective and how they may feel. So with that being said, I am going to go. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which actually, I have 2 videos, a gender prediction and a gender reveal. So yeah, if you're curious, that will be coming out soon, so keep an eye out. I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to share that with you guys. So I will stop rambling, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!